Hi friends, host Eric here, and I'm talking with famous people. Tonight I'd like to talk about the changing nature of self and the unchanging type. So, one of the fundamental tenets or laws of typology is that a person's type doesn't change over the course of their life. And the reason for this is because type is type represents a configuration of manners of attention. There are a certain finite number of ways of paying attention, and they fall along certain configurations because to value some things necessarily means to countervalue others that are conflicting. So, one of the central tenets of MBTI, socionics, whatever, is that type doesn't change over the course of your life. So, standing alongside that reality is the fact that a person displays differently over the course of their life. Um, I remember I said in an earlier video that I'm doing the same shit I was when I was doing when I was 18, which on some level is true. I'm making the same kind of arguments. I'm maybe making them better now. Kitty, that's got cigarette butts in it. No, kitties, no. Hey.
They're not
Uh, that's true. They're not dogs. So, while I am making the same kind of arguments, obviously I'm displaying quite a bit more refined in my execution of self than I did at the time, I would assume. Uh, Obviously, each person matures along different lines of maturation. Some people become more mature and
maturation.
more successful in being aspects of themselves that they want to be, while concurrently becoming less optimal in other forms of display and so forth. Now, the reason I'm talking about all of this is because I was talking with Susie earlier, and I was talking a little bit about with Kimberly in the car, and she's experienced it as well. It's an odd phenomenon to have your entire frame change quite so abruptly as both of ours have. Prior to this relationship, we both were intellectually, mentally in different spaces than we are now. We both we both had self-concept that was built around stuff that no longer is because this relationship has redefined so many things for us.
Circumstantial.
Yeah, I mean, it's things circumstances are very different now than they were before. But it's not just circumstances because being in this relationship for me, I know, impacts my identity as an individual substantially. I I have a whole different set of concerns and things that give me positive juice and things that give me negative juice and yada yada yada. Everything's very different now than it was before. And some of my friends, I'm talking with famous people, have commented that I'm behaving differently or display differently or something's wrong. Yada, yada. Nothing's wrong at all, but it is it is a reality that I'm not sure how I am in this new framework. I'm not habituated to being that person. It's not as comfortable as the default that I had prior to the relationship yet. And I think that's even more so true for Kimberly, who hadn't really been in a long term relationship in a long time, and I don't think had been in a particularly good relationship heretofore. I'd like to think this one's pretty good. Kimberly, how am I doing as a boyfriend? What grade do I get?
You get a B.
B. What was the highest grade in a previous relationship partner of yours got?
C minus.
That's pretty bad. Barely passing. I'm above average.
Yeah.
What do I have to do to earn up my way up to an A?
Not be so jealous.
I'm not really that jealous. I mean, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I mean, I would say those are the moments I dread.
And how would you grade yourself?
Probably a C,
Why?
because I still don't think that I'm the best that I can be.
Well, you're not grading yourself against perfection. You're grading yourself.
My own perfection. I know that I can be better.
Well, I give you an A plus.
You give me. So then that seems mean that I gave you a.
No, it gives me that room to grow. It's fine, Kimberly.
You do have a little bit of growing to do.
I do. And to be honest, I mean, you do too.
That's why I said you asked me.
I know, baby. I know. But regardless of that, I mean, that's the thing that makes everything different is this whole matter is settled. It doesn't matter if we both give each other an F. I don't think either of us can conceive of replacing the other with anybody.
No, I would say the things that the things that are difficult for you and I aren't even things about you and I. It's about things that we're having to deal with outside of us. We have a lot going on.
Right. Well,
Doesn't always bring out the best in me.
I mean, I think that this relationship in general has had the following impacts on me. It's made me more introverted. It's made me...
Yes. I noticed that too.
It's made me more TI and less FE in things that don't involve you, and more FE and less TI in things that do involve you.
What is that? Why? That's weird.
Well...
It's like you're on thinking mode.
Well, but when I'm dealing with you and your people, I try to be on FE mode. When I'm dealing with your people, I mean, not you necessarily. Like you and I, when we're conversing, we go around back and forth different things.
Yeah.
But when I'm out with you and your people, I try to be very FE conscious and make good impression and stuff. Although throwing a tantrum on Saturday probably
In front of the entire family at a funeral was, yeah.
was not in front of the entire family. It was very low key, actually. It's not like I was a drunken buffoon.
No, you were just a buffoon. And thank God I didn't know the 4 people around me well enough to ever have to see them again. So the fact that you were a buffoon really didn't bother me. But yeah, you were a bit of a buffoon.
I don't want to fight about that, but anyway.
But it's okay. I found a ride home.
So, I do think that my display as an ENP is different now publicly in different contexts. I probably display as more serious. I probably display as more businesslike and less understanding in some regard. I don't actually feel that way, but I think it has to do with the fact that more of my attention is spent on processing what all these various changes mean than I'm even fully aware of or thinking.
Well, you have somebody else to think about now.
Right, well...
And so you are a little bit more serious
I mean, that's what I mean about the frame changing. It's like I'm still Eric, but certain unanswered questions that often drove my behavior have been answered, and it causes there to be a sort of a void in how do I manifest this self now when I've been in the habit of manifesting myself against this question or this reality that no longer is relevant. And the answer is, you just be as the days pass. But the thing is, all the narrative implications of stuff have yet to fully emerge.
Are you happy?
I'm way happier than I've ever been before. It's a weird question. Am I happy?
I was just thinking, are you happy? I'm wondering if people think maybe you're not happy.
Well, no. Like I said, I'm way happier than I've ever been before. This is correct. This relationship is correct. This situation is correct. The choices I made have been correct. The stuff's playing out like it's supposed to.
That's what I was kind of asking.
Yeah, and so on that level, I'm as happy as I can be. Am I actually happy? Sometimes I am. A lot of times I'm lost in my thoughts, and my emotional state doesn't seem to be existent, really. It's like, I'm sure it is, but it's not something I'm aware of.
Or me sometimes.
I'm not aware of you, or what?
No, but I'm wondering where your emotions are too.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes, how a lot of people say, like, I'll come in the room and they'll be like, you look mad, Eric, or something, and I'm not mad, I'm just thinking about whatever, When I started making a lot of videos on this channel was after a period of time when I was spent a long time in my head and not a lot of people to talk to. I had a lot of stuff to say. I had a lot of stuff to say I hadn't said out loud before. I had a lot of stuff to say that I needed to work out by saying it out loud. I had a lot of raw ideas, stumps of ideas, and stubs, And I'm not sure what I was going towards or where I was coming from. But I knew I wanted to figure everything out, one way or the other. I wanted to figure out reality. I wanted to figure out existence. I wanted to figure out what it meant to be a moral agent in the world. And by and large, I think I figured it out to my satisfaction, which means I understand the limitations of symbolic representation, how language and experience interact with one another to produce these apparent paradoxes and conundrums that are actually simply value conflicts, and it's an adequate explanation for me. I feel as though I've done my philosophical work. I haven't put it all out there yet, but I'm in the process of doing that. If you don't care, if you don't think it's worth paying attention to, that's fine too. That's those sort of things, that ongoing philosophical project that have been ongoing for decades. The satisfaction of understanding, to my satisfaction, how reality works, understanding exactly where the swamps lie that you can't travel in rhetorically, to understand what it means to exist in a objectivity suspended space of some, say for example, faith, and to understand that a lot of times when shit happens that I don't get at all, it's because it's based on my feelings. Stuff like that, those are moments of optimization for me, or periods of optimization, or strategies of optimization. So I don't know exactly how and who I am in this new frame of being part of this very solvency-rich relationship, which is to say, it solves a lot of the existential unresolved matters that drove me prior to the relationship. I'd like to think the same is true for Kimberly. And so, figuring out which display of ENTP will represent me as going forward as somebody who's has so many more needs met than I've had before. It's just something that's going to have to play out as it does. I care less about things other than this than I used to, obviously, because it didn't exist for me yet before. And there's only so much attention and caring one can direct towards things during the course of the day. So, I think one of the appeals of what I've been doing heretofore has been my accessibility and my refusal to separate myself from those who view that it's a participatory, non-hierarchical setup, But in this new reality, I display less of that. My fundamental values haven't changed. It's just that the realization of those values through this medium has become somewhat deprioritized for me, or reprioritized through attainment kind of goal-directed things. How successful will I be in pursuing those goals? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if I continue to display somewhat more serious than I have heretofore. It doesn't mean I'm more of a dick. It doesn't mean I'm less happy. It doesn't really mean anything except a lot of the excess ontological energy that used to overflow as videos and such is occupied with trying to understand how the changes in my reality change my overarching identity narratives. So, I'm still an ENTP, regardless. Still extroverted intuition, still introverted thinking. Type doesn't change over the course of your life because the habits that you began in childhood in terms of attending, I'll attend in this way, I'll attend in this way, I'll attend in that way, they become only ever more reliable as you practice in them. And you may metacognate to a place where you can access means of attention that aren't normally natural defaults for your type, but it won't prevent you from going back to those natural defaults again and again and again, because that's who you are, and that's how you manifest the self effectively in the world. So thanks for watching Talk with Famous People, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese,